Hello and welcome back to After Images Through the Static. Today I want to talk about making space, decluttering, letting go, and buying with intention. I've been organizing and decluttering my apartment for the first time since moving into it 2 years ago. I've been living on my own for 4 years now, so having and taking care of my own space has been a learning process. I'm not a minimalist by any means, but like many of us, I enjoy a clean, organized space. This year, I intended to organize and declutter my entire apartment, and I had been going very slowly. Bookshelves and a couple drawers in February, filing cabinet and storage bin in March, a kitchen cabinet in June. But in July, I seemed to suddenly get so much energy and motivation to go through the entire apartment every single day, without pause. While I don't remember the inciting incident for motivating me to organize and declutter, I can say that seeing my kitchen counter covered in random things, always overflowing, was steadily taking its toll on me. Visual clutter leads to overwhelm, and I was feeling it. Here's what I've found most helpful for finally organizing and decluttering after so many years. Declutter one area per day. No, an entire room is not an area. An area is the living room bookshelf, the bottom bathroom drawer, the purse shelf in the closet, the shoe rack. An area should always be fairly small, though the exact size can be up to you, whether it's one drawer or multiple. If all you can handle today is one shelf, that's enough. You can set a timer for 5 to 15 minutes and only do as much as that time allows and stop. It's crucial to not tire yourself out by doing too much at once. We use mental energy every time we make a decision on whether to keep something or not, when we decide where something should go, all the while using physical energy to move everything. You don't want to burn yourself out when you have plenty of time to get through everything when you take it slowly. The mess has been here and it's not going anywhere. It can wait until tomorrow, I promise. Like this, I've been making my way through the entire apartment for weeks without getting exhausted. And I am someone who does not have a lot of stamina. Look at items in a different context. My partner said that she went through her entire closet and decluttered it, as it was still a giant mess, so stuffed that the door couldn't easily open or close. I went through everything again to try to create some space. I showed her all of her clothes, one at a time, so she could see these pieces in isolation. Seeing them individually in the living room changes the context and lets you look at the object by itself rather than in the closet among everything else. When we look at things in their usual context, it's easier to drown it all out as we've become used to it. This is why it's best to remove everything from its place and look at it all in a new place, even if you're just putting everything on the floor. Since I was the one holding a piece of clothing, this also made it easier to emotionally detach from it, and she was willing to donate quite a lot for someone who had already decluttered. She also realized that if she spent a minute thinking about whether she wanted it, that probably meant she didn't want it. You can have a loved one help do the same for you. You don't need to feel guilty. You may have been given a gift you never liked, your taste has changed, or you may have something from a loved one who's passed away, so you feel you have to hold on to these items forever. If you don't, you're ungrateful, disrespectful, you'll forget the person. The truth is, most people aren't going to be on the lookout for their gifts, and they may have even forgotten what they gave you as time passes. Someone who loves you will understand if you had to part with something rather than pressure you into wearing or using the gift that you don't want anymore. With death, it's understandably even harder to let go, but people aren't their possessions. You'll always have the memories associated with that person. You can even take a photo of the object and write about the memories in a journal so you can look back at it without storing it in your home. And again, someone who loves you would want you to prioritize your peace over your grief. They would understand that you still love them, no matter what. If it still feels too difficult to part with certain things, you can always store them in a box, put them away so they're not taking up space for other things you need daily. If time passes and you forget about the box, it may now be easier to let the items go too. If you haven't needed something for over a year, you probably won't need it in the near future. I come from people who had their things taken from them, and so they held onto everything tightly because they weren't going to let that happen again. Due to this, I learned that everything has the possibility to become useful, so we should keep everything. No one wants to spend money on something they already have, right? I've only recently realized that I'm holding on to objects that haven't shown me their usefulness for years, so why do I keep them? I think about the money I've wasted, but keeping the objects doesn't magically give me my money back. It only serves to remind me of how I'm not using them. Why would I want to guilt myself multiple times a day for no reason? If it ever ends up that I need the objects in the future, it's very likely I can still access them. Things like cables and baking pans are aplenty in stores. Neighbors and friends can let you borrow things, and manuals can be found online for free. We have enough to worry about right now without worrying about what may possibly come to pass 3 years from now. The peace of mind of having an organized home not overflowing with objects is worth more to me in the long run than something I may need once in 6 years. And often you'll find you won't ever need them at all. We shouldn't allow guilt or fear to rule our actions. Let go of your ideal self. You may have bought a top you love and think is so cool, but you've never worn it because it isn't actually your style. It's time to understand that while you can appreciate the piece, it should go to someone who will actually enjoy and wear it. You may have bought materials for the craft you wanted to try, but it's been over a year and the last project you were working on still sits unfinished. Maybe you enjoyed the hobby in that season of your life. Maybe you will one day again, but you haven't for some time, and so it's time to give those materials to someone who can use them right now. These examples are pulled from my life, but there's so many like this, I'm sure you have your own. We can honor who we were in the past, we can honor our taste in things, and we can still let this idealized version of ourselves go to create room for who we actually are. If it feels extra hard to let go, thank your objects. This is straight from Marie Kondo, of course. If it's difficult to part with something because of emotional attachment, hold it. Thank it aloud or in your head. Sit with it for a few moments, and then let it go. It feels easier to let things go knowing you honor them the way you feel they deserve to be instead of carelessly throwing them out. Keep coming back. Decluttering is not a one-time process. It's something we'll have to do for the rest of our lives. Coming back to organizing one area at a time, this should be a habit you begin to form over time. The more time spent decluttering, the easier it becomes to let go of objects. I've also found that coming back to an area, even a few days later, I realize there's even more I don't actually need. I needed one lighter, so I bought a pack of 6. 5 of them can be donated. I don't need canned food lids anymore for my cat, so I keep one for the rare occasion it's needed, and 4 of them can be donated. Revisiting areas will also make it easier to know what you own, what you never used, and that will lead to reduced spending and clutter. We should take time to know ourselves better. Create a home for everything. If you have random objects strewn about, this may mean they do not have a designated spot. It's up to you to create this space for objects you actually need with the free space you now have after organizing and decluttering. If you don't know where something goes, it'll likely end up on counters and tables, and the visual clutter creates constant low-level stress in the back of our minds that we would be better off without. If you're unsure where something should go, sort similar objects with each other and then find a place for all of them. It's easier for us to process groups of similar items rather than an assortment of random objects. You'll also want to have objects in the easiest to access place because if we introduce too much friction, we're less likely to reach for those objects when we need them or put them back where they belong. How do I get rid of things I no longer need? Part of why I always find it hard to declutter is that I hate throwing away perfectly good things. I always worried that if I donated items to places like Goodwill that they won't be used and get thrown away, and I don't want to contribute to the overwhelming landfills any further than I already do. What I've learned is that not everything in our homes is trash. Much of it's in the wrong place and would be better used by someone else. I can't imagine having the energy to post on websites like eBay or Depop, pack stuff up, somehow figure out shipping costs ahead of time, buy the supplies needed, and then go to the post office repeatedly to ship these things to people who would want them. The marginal profit is not worth all of the effort and energy I would have to put into it. I recently was reminded of the Buy Nothing app that I'd signed up for a year ago, so I decided to give it a try. I found a humidifier I'd bought a few years ago to see if it would help my hair curl. I later figured out the issue was the hard water in my shower. So it didn't. But it still was perfectly fine and barely used. It was just put away one day and forgotten. I posted the humidifier on Buy Nothing to see what would happen, and within minutes I had someone interested in picking it up within an hour. This ignited a flame under me, and I started posting everything I didn't need, even things I thought were too tiny, too frivolous, too ugly, or too niche, and still, someone wanted them. I've given away so many things to people who actually want them and will use them, and it feels great knowing perfectly good objects won't just end up in a landfill. Within a few weeks, I've posted more than 50 objects, clothing, furniture, home decor, accessories, and way more, and I've gotten everything picked up. There are also 2 local Buy Nothing groups on Facebook where I live, and I've used those if something seems a little bit less popular on the app. and I found someone who's come to pick things up from me 4 times already. It really feels like you're fostering community when you're helping local parents, homeless people, neighbors. I've had one person whose children are fishers give me fish when they came back from sea. Another who's a masseuse offered a free massage for me or a person of my choosing, and another that just comments on my posts to tell me how cool my style is. It shows you how willing people can be to support each other, and that we aren't all as disconnected as institutions would like us to think we are. Avoiding the cycle that creates clutter. Clutter comes from what we buy and bring into our homes, so to stop at the source, we must buy fewer things. I've always asked myself before buying anything, can I think of a use for this right now? Do I already have something that serves the same purpose? Is this high quality? Will it last a long time? Have I been wanting this for a while? If I answer no to any of these, I almost always won't get it. I have a digital wish list too where I don't see items I add until 30 days have passed. Often, I forget about them or realize I actually don't want them, so I delete them. It takes a lot for me to purchase something on my wish list, so it's a rare occasion. After spending time decluttering, it'll also become easier to think of objects when you're out and about as potential future clutter. You'll evaluate the thought of spending money, finding a place to put it, whether it'll actually be used, having to clean it, having to eventually donate it, and that calculus may bring you to find more joy in not buying something than the dopamine hit that comes from anticipating the purchase. Having fewer items will give you and everyone who lives with you clarity. There will be fewer things to clean, which means more time spent doing what you enjoy. Your brain won't be preoccupied with what you need to organize. You won't be stressed just existing at home because your space is calmer, and it'll be easier to find what you need. We need to really think before bringing in more objects into our home, as it's so easy to allow things in and so much harder to get them out. Capitalism wants us to feel that endless consumption will make us happier, but the truth is, once you have your needs and wants met, you don't need much else. I'd love to hear what works for you when you're organizing and decluttering, other ways of donating objects you have, or any mindset shifts that help you regarding consumption. If you're still struggling with any part of this, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to advise you if I have advice, and anyone else watching can also chime in. As always, thank you for watching, and feel free to let me know what you'd like to see next.